Within our souls, we all possess a dream which lay dormant until intrigue strikes its match and sets the torch we carry ablaze, leading us down the path of the unknown towards our dreams. As coaches who are former high-performance athletes, our personal experiences have shown us that a coach, parent, or even a fellow athlete have the potential to either illuminate or extinguish the dreams of young athletes. Nothing is lost from the candle which lights another. We are here to share our stories and our passion to illuminate the champion within, empowering coaches, parents, and athletes to keep the flame of their dreams burning eternally. You are listening to Illuminating Champions with Michal and Ashley Anton. Welcome to another episode of Illuminating Champions. For our first-time listeners, my name is Ashley, and I'm here with my husband, Michal.
Hey, how are you guys?
We also have a very special guest with us. He is our personal coach and our brand artist. His name is Mark Patterson. Hi, Mark.
Good morning.
Hi, Mark.
So today's episode is entitled Raising an Elite Hopeful. And we'd love to get deep into this topic, as this is, of course, an extraordinary path to take within any sport, but particularly within the sport of gymnastics, since gymnastics is notoriously a very young sport at the elite level. So raising a child who aspires to become an elite level gymnast and has the potential to become an elite level gymnast is a little bit different than raising just your everyday average child who's going about their life and doing hobbies they enjoy. Being an elite gymnast and even just on the way to becoming an elite gymnast is really like a full-time job for the child, and it's a large commitment for the family. It entails a lot of perseverance, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication from the whole entire family. And the best path that you can put that child on in a positive way is for that whole family to be involved and be there, uplifting the child and really being their entire support system in every possible way as that child encounters all of the obstacles and bumps in their road. You want to keep them on a happy path. So Mark is going to help us develop this topic further by asking us some important questions. So why don't you go ahead and start us off, Mark?
Sure. Well, gymnastics is, a young sport, especially at the elite level. So this causes children to have to be in the sport as toddlers. I mean, you're talking as young as 4 years old. I mean, I'm amazed. So working with athletes that young, how soon can you identify that they have that potential to be an elite gymnast, and what are the key defining attributes that point that out to you?
I would answer.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to let you start this one off.
Listen, when it comes down, we talked in the past episode about natural talent and natural abilities, things that you can see, right? And obviously, like if someone is natural talented, gifted from God, you can see it right away. They walk in the gym. The second they walk in the gym, they are 3 years old, 4 years old. You know that, okay, they have the physical abilities. Then with time, trying to develop them towards that goal of being an elite athlete one day, you can start see the psychological side of it, which can differ the physical abilities, understand? Mm-hmm. And then how many other things that start to come with time, that you start seeing them, like how you go up into the developing of the athlete and they get older and, things change a little bit. But the physical abilities, you can see them right away, because they are visible. But also, like for coaches and even for parents, they have to keep in mind that sometimes a good coach is the one that sees the physical abilities that are not visible. Understand?
I see.
Because sometimes you have athletes that are talented, but they don't show it right away. Like they come in and they don't look like they are this natural talented athlete. And then a coach with a good experience, a coach with a good eye, sees it. That's why I told you, remember talking in the past about coaching being like a jeweler, right? And you take that raw diamond and you polish it and you make it very shiny. Mm-hmm. It's the same process.
But the attributes that you can see, I mean, when you say a 3 or 4 year old child that walks into the gym, what is that? Are you seeing confidence?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Give me a couple specific things, because as an outsider, that's an astounding thing that potential can be identified.
Like just simple how they move.
How they
Understand how they move around. Like yesterday, I have a little girl, for example. She came in the gym just to test that, like she's gonna come to do classes. 3 years old, she's right?
She's just turned 4.
She's just turned 4, right? And I can see she likes gymnastics because she came to the gym just to buy a leotard and see the gym. We didn't have the class for her. The class starts in 2 weeks. But she cries, she wants to go in the gym. Like I knew then, like, okay, this girl likes the sport because of her behavior, right? She wants to be inside the gym. And then I took her in I finished my class and I told the father, okay, let her come in with me a little bit. And I took her in the gym and she ran by herself over the low beam. Like, yeah, I know that girl with the right training is going to do gymnastics because I see how she can balance on her own. Like she understands balance, she understands movement. Then she jumped off the low beam. I show her how to jump on her feet, and she jumped 1 time, she jumped 2 times, she jumped 3rd time, and then does a front roll after on her own. I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously it's visible.
Yeah,
like,
that would stand out.
Yeah.
And there are things like this, like you look for it. You look at their flexibility, natural flexibility, natural understanding of movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she does warm up with them in the beginning and she sits down and she points her toes and show them how to do it. Some kids come in and they look like a professional ballerina. They point the toes and straight the leg right away.
That's where you see it a lot if you pay attention, is in the warm up when they're very young in particular, because it's their ability to really follow along with what you're doing. And for someone that's older, it's a basic concept, but for someone who's a toddler, for them to sit down and just follow along with the way that you're moving your feet or the way that you're moving your legs or the difference between a bent leg and a straight leg or a pointed toe and a flexed toe, that's challenging for a very young child to grasp if it doesn't just come naturally to them. So that's a place where, like you just said, physically you can see.
So on the
their
emotional
ability.
side, maybe like you said, it's desire. Like the one girl you just gave as an example, she really wanted to be in the gym. The gym was attracting her. So maybe it's desire and paying attention, the ability to pay attention while you're coaching. So
Yeah.
Listening to the coach. Like some of them do it naturally, some of them don't. But it's not a big deal because you can look at why they don't do it too. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have little girls in the gym that are like very athletic, and they have hard time listening.
Mm-hmm.
But not because they are disrespectful or they don't know how to listen or they don't like to listen. They can't listen because they are so athletic and so energetic. Like, it's very hard for them. Like I told one of the mother a while ago, I told her that her little daughter is like a nuclear bomb in a small grenade. You know what I mean? She has so much power, so much energy. Like, yeah, that little girl is not just going to sit down like this for 30 seconds. She's going to sit down 10 seconds and then she's going to jump up and go, try to jump, try to climb, but those things for me, they show me that, okay, the child is talented, and with the right guidance from the parent and from us, she's going to end up listening at one point and follow instruction very well, if we guide her towards that direction. And then the athleticism, I know, is there because it's visible.
I think like a mistake that parents and even coaches make is they look for the child to walk in with no imperfections in order for them to assume that the child could make an elite gymnast. And that's just probably not going to happen. It is exactly what he just said. Sometimes you have a really physically talented child, and because they're so physically talented, they're very stimulated by what they're doing. And then they're so excited that they struggle to stay still and follow along. But you have to see where their weaknesses are and realize how you can help them improve the weakness, and just realize, like in this child's case, she is very physically talented. She's very driven. She wants to do well. She's competitive. She does have positive mental attributes. Then if you can just teach her how to focus them, then she can be on her way on the elite track. And be very successful. You can't just be like, oh, well, she can't focus, so let's count her out. Or, oh, this one's really, really strong, but they're not that flexible, so they're not going to make it. You have to realize, you have to be realistic about it, how much you can improve someone's weakness. And that's a key factor, too. That goes back to being honest, like Michal always talks about. So you have to be honest how much you feel you can improve a weakness, but you have to realize that there are weaknesses within every great athlete.
You should have to improve that
Yeah.
weakness. Understand? Because sometimes you see, like even in gymnastics, the coaches, they fall for that mistake, right? The technique is this in the book. They describe the technique in the book certain way,
A certain way. Yeah.
certain way, right? And the child has to execute it that way, like in the book. But sometimes the child can't move that way. And you look at it, it's like, oh, this is technically wrong. But they can execute a trick. Understand how wrong it is. Is that wrong that she's going to get injured? Is that wrong that she's going to execute a trick with big mistakes? Or she can handle that
Small,
error,
slight imperfection.
understand? Yeah. Slight imperfection, but make the outcome of the trick look perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at the Ronda handspring triple flip, right? The Ronda has to go straight. The handspring has to be long. You have to have straight legs in the handspring. Like a lot of technical things that has to go in that Ronda handspring in order for you to do a triple flip. But then you have someone that has that fast twitch and power that they can go a little sideways in a Ronda. Understand? Their handspring doesn't have to be so long and so fast, you know. They adapt to the mistake and they can make the trick very well and then stick the landing. Then, you know, it's the same thing with the behavior. Like you can guide them wrongfully trying to beat down that mistake too much. Make sense how I'm explaining?
Yeah, well, I think you need to, it goes back to placement. You don't want to overwhelm someone because it can't be your ego that you want them to be an elite gymnast as a coach or parent.
No, but what I'm trying to say
ahead.
is this, like, you have to work with an imperfect behavior too. Like if someone doesn't listen, they don't have to listen like a nun in a church. Understand? They can be a little bit like fooling around, not paying attention, but if it's not bothering them,
it's not
distracting them so much that they cannot perform well, then it's not a big deal. As a coach, you have to put up with that. Understand?
It's an individualized expectation. Not every child
not a
is
standard.
Going to listen perfectly. You have to figure out what's going to stimulate them to give you the result you need to see. Basically, everybody has a different stimulation. Everybody does focus and learn differently, even in academics. So you need to bring out of the child what's going to stimulate them to listen enough to get the result that you want, and kind of let them also have their personality. They can't feel confined or like a robot, or that they're being someone that they're not, that's not their essence of a person. Somebody like this child that's very playful and happy, and we don't want her to come in the gym and just be like a soldier and not speak and not move, and because that's the way that she has to follow along and she has to visibly be paying attention this way. No, she's gonna pay attention her way. Yeah,
because her natural behavior is to be bubbly, is to be like explosive, is to jump around and move and understand. She's never, I know 100% sure, she's never just gonna come in the gym and sit down and say, Coach Michael, can you just tell me what to do today? I'm just no, I'm never gonna. I know that from now. Right. And she's 4 years old, you know what I mean? But if I can guide her to focus enough that she can learn and be very good, that's fine. I'm going to put up with whatever she lacks at it, understand? Because you cannot make someone to be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. We try to achieve it, but
well, and you're coaching.
Let's be honest.
You're coaching some young people. They're learning all kinds of things. So you have to not only know how to coach the movements and the tricks, as you call them, but you have to do it in a way that it gets through their mind, as they're trying to understand life in general. So and then it's a grueling training to take a child from zero to elite training. So as we've talked about before, how do you determine if a young athlete is actually emotionally capable of what you're about to put them through? I mean, people mature physically and mentally, emotionally at different levels. So how do you?
But even that is the same thing with natural talent. Understand, like the physical abilities. You have kids that come in the gym and then from the beginning they are very, how to say it, tough. They come in, they want to work hard. You can see like they can do 20 repetitions and they don't care,
They're naturally
determined. They are very determined. But then you have also kids that come in the gym and you have to teach them how to like it. You have to teach them how to work hard and why to work hard, understand? And we go back to being honest and explaining correct from the beginning. Obviously, you have to explain at the level of a 3, 4, 5 years old, right? Like we do, for example, 10 handstand. Why do we practice 10 handstands? You know,
Mm-hmm.
we want to make the handstand correct. This is the handstand in your routine. That's how you the position. We have to get to hold that position perfectly, because if you don't, then you're gonna score this much. And if you score this much, then you're not gonna get that gold medal that you want. Understand? And you give them explanations like this, and you help them start understanding why
Yeah, the
they have to
reasoning.
perform that way, why they have to work hard that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a process. It's not an easy process to teach someone to have discipline and work ethic and understand. You
Mm-hmm.
can have someone that has it naturally, but it's very rare.
I
It's more you have more chances to get someone physically athletic
mhm.
than behavioral
Laser focused. Yeah.
yes, like come in and be like
So what you're
shot.
saying
Yeah.
is a young athlete can have all the physical ability, but they may lack the mental or um, the mentality or the emotional ability
Or the
to,
behavior,
to
yes.
put it
Yeah.
together.
And I think, in addition to what he was saying, the way that we differentiate, because that's what you're asking, like, how do you tell the difference? And take into consideration that children are teachable. They're not going to just walk in perfect and always laser focused and have all the attributes you wish they had to make your job easy. You have to work with them. It's their responsiveness to what you're teaching them. If you have somebody that is a little bit hyper and you explain to them why they need to pay attention, and they're responding and they're making a change at a relatively quick pace, then you know, okay, I can take her a step farther and I can push her a little bit more. And I see that she's willing to, work hard, and she's willing to listen to me as a coach. She's very moldable. Then I can push her a little bit faster. Whereas, like, somebody that's just hyper and you spend time explaining to them, and then they're not changing, they're just choosing to just be hyper, and they're not being constructive with being moldable, then that child wouldn't be somebody that you'd be like, okay, let me push her a little bit faster and put her on a more advanced
You give
pace,
her more
because
time.
she needs more time. Because if you push her too fast, then you're going to overwhelm her. She's not going to enjoy what she's doing, and it becomes a toxic environment for her. And this is kind of how you make the difference, is their responsiveness to what you're telling them, in addition to what do they already walk through the door with naturally. Are they strong? Are they flexible? Are they, having a quick reaction time when they're doing their skills? Are they reacting quickly when you're telling them something? Are they grasping it quickly? Are they being attentive? um, you see, okay, they have this, and this, and whatever they're lacking, how quickly are they adjusting it to be the way that you're asking
Mm-hmm.
them to make it? And then you kind of know how much you can push
And
them
also
further.
as a coach, like the point I was trying to make before with paying attention to the kids and how to pay attention to them is like you cannot stereotype. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to say. Understand? You cannot be like, oh, she has to be this way. She has to have these physical
Mm-hmm.
abilities and these mental abilities in order for her to have a chance at elite gymnastics. No, she has to be for her good to make it to the elite level. Understand? Because she has to have enough physical abilities for her body type
Mm-hmm.
and enough mental and behavior abilities for her body type, understand, and for her personality.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not going to match another kid that's very, I don't know how to say, like laser focused, and they are very well behaved and they always listen and they always say yes and please, and and you have to work with that as a coach. You cannot try to bring someone to a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of coaches do that mistake. Even my coaches in gymnastics back in Romania, as good as we were, sorry, in the
Mm-hmm.
past, they did mistakes with me, and they did mistakes that I knew as an athlete. When I start growing up as an athlete and getting older and more experienced, I knew then, like, okay, that was wrong, but now coaching for so many years, like, I know, yes, they did wrong. They shouldn't do that. But obviously they did gymnastics by the book. That's
Mm-hmm.
how it was in the book. And they want me to execute the tricks like in the book. And if they let me execute the trick the way I felt it with a little technical error, I will be perfect. You know, I end up doing the trick anyways that way and improve the difficulty on the trick, by the time I got older, because I did it, they couldn't slap me anymore and beat me and yell at me. I was too old for that. But, you know, if they let me when I was young, I would do much better. Understand? Yeah. They build some, how to say, like you can build on the athlete, the twists they talk about. Understand? The It's not really twisty. It's more like when you execute a trick and you're so stressed to do it that way, they ask you, but you can't. But you feel you can do the trick if you, I don't know.
It's like an insecurity.
Yes. If you, like, I will do like fulls on floor, right? Around the handspring full layer full, right?
Layer full.
Layer full, right?
Like a flip with a full twist in the
right?
middle.
And my coach wants me to hit the floor. My feet are like this. My feet had to be perfectly straight in the corner with the floor. Like if you put a line, my feet has to be perfect straight. And I will hit the floor a little bit this way.
Sideways.
And they will put chalk on the floor and my feet hit the floor. They will look at my feet to be straight. If they were sideways, I will get slapped. Then I end up being afraid. Now, I was not afraid of the trick at all. I could do the fulls. I was afraid to not get beat. Understand? And then I will execute the trick wrongfully just because I will sit on that corner at 9 years old, and I will be terrified that if I didn't hit the floor straight with straight feet, I would get beat up. Like, let's put it this way, I pee on the floor a few times. Understand? Like, and I was not the only one in the gym. And you are a boy. It's not like you hit a girl. Like you hit a boy that hard that he pees on the floor. It's pretty hard. Understand? Then I used to be like, when I want to quit gymnastics, I was 10 years old. The reason I want to quit gymnastics is because I was terrified of that full layout on the floor. And not the trick. I was terrified of the coach. Every time I had floor, I was like, my heart stopped.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, like, you have to work with the mistakes, because sometimes those mistakes are just too small to be bother the athlete execution.
Right. And then going back to what you were saying about, can somebody have all of the physical abilities but not the mentality? The answer is yes. You see some children that they walk in and they have the physical ability of Simone Biles, and their mind is they just want to play in the gym. They just want to have fun. They don't want to have pressure. And, when you see somebody like that, of course, you try to encourage them to use their physicality and change their mentality gently, encourage them in a nice way that, just try harder. Look at this one. You did that so well because you concentrated really hard on that. Or if you really put your all into conditioning, then your skills are going to be more accurate and precise every single time you do them, and you're going to have an easier time learning them. And you try to stimulate them this way, not by, beating them until they pee on the floor. That's not the way you do it.
For people to understand that I didn't watch before, I didn't grow up in America. Understand? I grew up in a society that, look, I'm not giving excuses to my first coaches. I'm not, but everybody was like that. Like they didn't know how to do it different. Understand? Where in America, it's a different society.
Yeah, for a long time.
My problem for me in America is when they do it here. Understand? And USA Gymnastics allow it, and that's my problem, because they shouldn't. Understand? For me, that was a society, like everywhere in society was the same way, from school to home to the neighbors to the subway to the bus station. Everywhere you go as a child, you said something wrong, you answered incorrectly, you was disrespectful, you got slapped. And that was a way of education. It's not an excuse, but that's how it was. I don't think so. My first coach will do the same thing. If I will be now here in America and I will do gymnastics with him, I don't think so he will do that. Understand? Because he had a good side. He was a good man in the other side. Understand? But coaching, that's how it was.
Yeah, we're gonna have a whole episode on this topic, because it's one that needs to be discussed, and it's very intriguing.
If you want to change things, you have to discuss them. You cannot put them under the rug, because you're never gonna make the difference. You're not gonna change anything.
And I would think that exactly when children come into the gym, the only culture that they know at that early age is home. So if home is strict, or home is loose, or home is play, that's all they can do is bring that attitude in there. So you have to work with that wherever they are and help them.
It makes a huge difference. You're right. It makes a huge difference what their home life is like
Mhm.
when they first come in, and then what their home life becomes while they're training. If their parent is very interested in their child's time in the gym and how they can help them to get better, and they take it serious, this the parent takes the sport serious, in the way that they see the child in the sport and they see them interested in it, and they go home and they encourage them to pay attention in the gym or to strive to improve something. Then the child is going to pick up on that and take it to heart because it's coming from their parent,
Mhm.
and then they're going to have a higher expectation of themselves when they walk back through the door. And then when you're telling them in the gym as a coach, I need you to execute this a certain way, the child is going to feel like that's a normal expectation, and they're going to be more responsive to it. If it's we talked about this before, if you're on two different pages as coaches and parents, like say if the child comes in the gym and we're saying, you need to do 10 cartwheels with straight legs and pointed toes, and the child goes home and the parent is only, well, I just want you to just go have fun,
Or that was too
and
many. You
and
know what I
or
mean?
you did too many. If you got tired, you don't have to, just stop at 7. When And I'm not talking about, there's a difference between pushing somebody over their limit. I'm talking about doing something that's, the child really can visibly handle easily and with a little bit of persistence, something that would be a regular expectation, nothing extraordinary, then the parent should mimic what the coach says and
Well,
try
yeah,
to
but that's
help
why
the
you see we're talking
child.
in the past episodes when we talk, we're talking the few of them actually,
Mm-hmm,
if not almost all of them, that the relation between the coach and the family, the parents, has to be like a personal relation. It's a
mm-hmm,
very like almost like a family, understand?
Right.
Because they both parts has to guide the child correctly,
right.
understand?
There
Then
can't be.
as a coach, obviously, I'm gonna try to give that child the best professional advice,
Mm-hmm,
from technical to psychological. And if the parents don't enforce that,
mm-hmm,
help me bring that to the child in at home behavior, right? And at home education and all that, then it's going to be a contradictory
mm-hmm.
message to the child, which the child is going to get lost in the middle somewhere. And then their career is going to have a decreased path,
Mm-hmm.
not
The decline, yeah.
going up.
Well, you've mentioned the importance of that triangle. The
Mm-hmm,
It is
athlete, the
important.
coach, and the parents have
It
to
is.
all be working together for the same goal.
Look,
yeah.
America is. Look, I'm gonna make a confession. I make it before to my customers, but I used to not like the American athletes at all. I was raised to beat American athletes. Put it that way. Like I was raised in a socialist communist country. Obviously, like if I compete against an American, my government wants me to beat you. Understand? Like it's how it is. People think like sports are not political. They are very political, especially in countries like that. You know what I mean? Like the
Mm-hmm,
athletes are like soldiers. And anyways, like I was looking all the time at the American athletes, and I see all these facilities in America. You guys have electricity, you have heat, you have AC in the sports facilities, you have good equipment, Like back home, like I did gymnastics in a gym with a carpet floor. Like the carpet was on the concrete floor. That's how I learned my first double flip. And I used to put a pommel horse on the floor, then move it out. I used to run on vault from outside the gym, open doors to hallways and run and like to do vault. You know what I mean? Like, and then I come to America. You look here, like I have one of the smallest gym I think in the whole states, if not one of the smallest in the country.
yeah.
But if I bring my gym now all the way in Romania today, my gym will become an Olympic center facility, because even today we have few gyms in my country. I think like really really equipped well gyms is like two or three,
Mm-hmm,
understand, where the national team trains. And then for me, I look at all of this, and you have food and you have vitamins and you have everything, right? And I was like, oh, those guys are so cocky, they are good, they have everything. If I would have that,
I'd be
i,
good
I
too.
would i would beat them 3 times more, you know what I mean? But then I come to America, and when I come to America, I start working with the kids, and right away I realized, I was like, well, it's different. It's actually very hard to be a champion in America, because nobody pays attention to you, because everything is business. We talk in the past, right? When I say, like, most of the sports in America are business, and then they look at the kid as a dollar bill. then nobody really cares about the value of the child, because they care about the check that they get every month. And they're not going to try to do something more with that child, because if you try to make a champion, you're going to expose yourself, you're going to make people upset, even in the gym, even in my gym. Like if I take one girl and I want to put her to train a little bit more because she's very good, and that happened in the past. People get upset, they get jealous, they leave the gym, they go to another gym, because it's like, why not my daughter, right? Because I'm honest, I put kids in the program where they belong to be successful. Not one kid can do more and they have that ability that we talk about, a physical and mental. You're gonna push them more, and it's very hard to balance those things, because in the end of the day, yes, jealousy, we talked in the past about jealousy and ego,
Mm-hmm.
right? They kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you expose yourself as a gym owner or as a coach if you do something like this. And they don't take that risk, understand? And they look at the child just as, okay, she comes next month, let's make her be just happy, understand? And then it's very hard, because you have someone, and I had kids when they come in America, very talented, but the gym didn't want to work with them. They will work with kids that pay for privates. The parents had money to pay for privates. They will give them more attention. Or the mommy was a coach in the gym and the child got put in a higher level program. But the kid that was better than that child, 3 times better and worked harder, but the parents had some financial problem, got left out. And that's how America is. And then you have the family that have to pay for the sports.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you go to Eastern Europe, up to China, the government pays. In America, like, yeah, I have kids that are very good, but then I go to the parent and I say, okay, the competition season costs this much. And they look at me, it's like, we don't have that money, understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to find ways to bring the money to them in order for that child to do gymnastics, understand? Then in America, it's very complicated, because the family has to make a sacrifice, a huge sacrifice for the athlete in all the sports.
Yeah.
And the athlete has to make the sacrifice by himself,
Right.
or by herself. There's nobody there. Like for me, for example, I just told you before, I was 10 years old, I want to quit gymnastics. They didn't let me quit. They brought me back in the gym with almost the police, understand? It's not like I had an option. I couldn't do any other sport anyways. They will not let me. Then I didn't have options to.
Mm.
I had to do what I had to do. It was gymnastics. That's it. I was good at it. They decide I'm good at it. I have to do it. Where in America, also, like, the kids have so many opportunities that can be also very destructive. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because look at Ashley. Like I told you before, she plays piano, but she's very talented at gymnastics. Then she could very easy at one point say, you know what? I don't want to do gymnastics. I'm going to take a piano career. I'm going to make more money. Like, it's easy to get distracted, and
Sure.
and kids that do sports at elite level, they are naturally very talented, and obviously they can do more than one sport, especially someone who does gymnastics.
Yeah.
Because you have talent, you see, people have to understand too, with natural talent, you have specific talent, right? For sports, like Michael Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
He can swim very good, but I'm pretty sure you take Michael Phelps and put him to play basketball. He has the height, he has the size, but he cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Because he's talented just at swimming. Gymnasts, athletes, boys or girls, they very overall athletic. Understand? They can do almost every sport
Mm-hmm.
on earth. You take someone from gymnastics and you say do wrestling, they're going to do wrestling very good. They're going to do boxing very good. They're going to climb very good. They're going to swim very good. They're going to run pretty good. Understand? They are overall very athletic. Then for them to get lost in, oh, I want to play baseball. Okay. Baseball is going to come easy for a boy, for example, that does gymnastics pretty good. Understand?
Sure.
Or soccer or other sports. Like, it's very easy to get distracted. In America, the American champions are the one that wants it the most.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because in America, if you don't really want it and you don't put the work, you're not going to make it. But if you do that, you make it.
Well, that
It's
leads
simple
us
as
to
that.
this next question, which you kind of touched on. When you choose to place an athlete on the elite track, you see all these things. You see the physical and emotional. You're making a commitment, and they have to make a commitment. So let's talk about that. The word commitment from that triangle standpoint, from the athlete, the parent, and the coach. What level of commitment does it take to actually achieve that?
It has to be your whole heart from all three sides. And it has to be always centered first around the athlete. The
Not first,
coach,
it's always the athlete.
solely around the athlete is the correct way for me to say that. The coach has to be fully invested for the benefit and well being of that athlete. Remove any other factors, money, fame, glory, anything. It's
Ego has to
just,
stay out.
yeah,
Like we
ego
talk about
has
all
to
the
stay
time about
out.
ego. Ego has to stay out out of your judgment
Mm-hmm.
on how you're gonna approach that athlete career. Understand? Your ego is out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the athlete ego. How is their ego? Because you have to use their ego. Champions have ego. Understand? And you have to work with the family to help the athlete.
Yes.
The coach and the family are the one that have to work very good to help that athlete and protect that athlete. That's why the relation we go back. The relation between the coach and the parents has to be one very personal and very honest, without ego, without like greed and other things that can come in. Because you see, like she said in just a few minutes ago, she said about kids that are very talented, but they don't really want to do it, right? Then that's when coaches make mistakes, because they look at a child and it's like, oh my gosh, she's so talented, she can be the next Olympic champion, but she doesn't really want it. Then they go there and they tell the parents fall for it, right? Because they look at their daughter or son, it's like, oh my gosh, I can have an Olympic champion in the house. And then they start pushing that child over the limits just because they want him to be an Olympic champion, but the child doesn't. Understand? With all your guidance, the child doesn't change. They still don't want to do it. I have someone now in my classes like that, recreational classes, and she does classes already for a year. She's so talented. So like, if she will decide to compete gymnastics and take it like for real, for like serious, she will be a big name. What you call it? Whole
Should be a
house,
household name is what you're trying
household
to
name.
say.
Sorry, my English. Household name in no time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but she doesn't like it. She likes gymnastics for fun, which is fine. Like for me, I know her mother knows, and her mother's fine with it. I said, for me as a coach, I know. Like I asked her one time, like, do you want to compete? She said no. Then 6 months after, I was like, okay, you're doing more. What do you think? You change your mind? No. Okay, fine. You know. But deep down, yeah, I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, if she will compete, this kid will decide to do gymnastics competitively. Competitively?
Competitively.
Say again?
Competitively.
Competitively.
Yes.
Competitively. Yes. You
It's
see, even for me, I have to practice things. You know, she'll be so good, but she doesn't like it, you know, and it's no big deal.
fine.
It's
Yeah.
fine. But if I put my ego in now, right? And I know I can make her a champion. I know I can bring her to a level of gymnastics. You know, I go there and I talk to the mother and I pursue the mother, persuade her psychologically, right? Because I know she's going to want from her daughter to be a superstar, right? And then she decides for her child to go in a program that's much more stricter, and she's not going to enjoy the little girl, you know, but we're going to push her, and then she's going to break, and it's not fair for her. And coaches, that's why it's very important to have no ego, because your ego is the one that's going to get in the way of your athlete. Understand?
Right. So when we see these great athletes, we're really seeing a convergence of all kinds of physical, emotional, and financial things that have to come together just right for that person to continue to advance.
Yes, and family environment.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to all of that coming together and just the word commitment, it's huge. I mean, of course, the athlete's responsibility is to come in the gym and be focused and stay determined and be coachable and listen to the coach and make sure that they are condoning themselves in the way that they're always advancing and they're always improving and they're listening to the mental tools that you're giving them and remaining positive. But for the parents, they have a large job of protecting that athlete inside and outside of the gym. And their responsibility is huge, because what they do with their child at home affects not only their home life, it affects their gym life and their performance. So they do have to have a different type of lifestyle. You know, they need to pay attention.
I said, like, that now I respect the American athletes, because you see, my family environment didn't affect me that much, because they take you and they put you in a training camp, understand? And I'm away from the family, right? Like all those gymnasts that you see from Romania, Lavinia Milosevic, Simona Amânar, Maria Olaru, all those girls, if they had to live at home, especially I think Maria Olaru was like that. If she has to live at home in her house and go to the gym and come back home and go she'll never make it.
Mm-hmm.
And many kids in my country are like that. Many Olympic champions that come from Romania were like that. That if they live with the family was so, not just poor, but society like so broken, alcohol problems with the father. We don't have drugs. Now we have drugs maybe in Romania, but at that time was no drugs, but alcohol, parents without education, like it's very hard for a child to make it out of that type of environment,
Mm-hmm.
where in America they are exposed directly to that,
Mm-hmm.
and when the father has problems with drugs and alcohol, or the mother, or they both have problems, and the kid goes home after practice and they see the father's walking in the house running and screaming and that, and the mother yelling, and those things affect them, and the parents have to understand those things, that the family environment between the parents is going to transfer on the child.
Right.
Like I told you a story a long time ago. Like I had a girl that same thing. She was very good, coming from a good family, and the parents just divorced. And when they divorced, and the mother had a boyfriend, and the girl has to live with the boyfriend in the house, and that, like, the girl was very young. She was 6, right?
Mm-hmm. 7, I think,
Seven.
at the time.
Once all of a sudden, her behavior, and she loved the sport of gymnastics, but her behavior in the gym changed.
Mm-hmm.
She would come in the gym and cry stretching, because
The emotional
the
impact.
emotion was different, and when I tried to explain the mother, like, okay, give her time, the mother didn't want the time because she wants her to be an Olympic champion. Then I said, no, I'm not going to coach her at this level. I'm not going to put her to do taps. I'm not going to train her twice a day. I'm not going to do this because she can't handle it emotionally, then she left the gym. That's another beauty part of America. Let them, like, as a coach, if you feel the pressure from the parents is so high and it's incorrect, then guide them to go to another place. I mean, you're free to choose, like how the customer is free to choose a business, the business is free to choose a customer, understand?
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean their home life has to be conducive to their sport life. So the parent needs to make sure that the child is going home, they're getting adequate rest, they're making sure they recover after practice. This is like a huge component to their body staying physically safe once they go back in the gym, because it does take a large toll on your body. No matter how correct you stretch, you condition, you train, you're technically sound, the pounding of gymnastics without adequate recovery, it is going to take a negative toll on your body.
Well,
so
and that's
at
going to
home,
affect the family,
right?
understand?
Yeah.
Because at home, for example, Saturday and Sunday, the girl cannot go to the beach, understand? Because she have to stay home and rest because she had practice. I don't know, maybe Saturday she had a practice. She had to rest her body, Then the family has to make that sacrifice with her together.
Right. Without making the child feel like they're a burden on the family's life. That's a huge component too. The child is now, once they decide that they're going on that elite track, like I said in the beginning, it's like a full-time job, but it needs to be celebrated. It needs to be the most exciting thing in their life. They need to be made to feel that their sacrifice as a child is worth it, and it's something that's exciting, and they're reaping benefits out of it, because
like
it is all of those things.
It.
It's not like you're just telling them that, but so you can't make them feel opposite. If they need to, somebody that's doing gymnastics is not going to go at the elite level, is not going to go figure skating in the middle of competition season, because the risk of them falling and hurting themselves is fairly high. Then you need to decide, when all her friends are going to do that, maybe that's not the best choice for her, because gymnastics has to be her
priority. It's not.
Right. Gymnastics needs to be the priority. And her being safe within gymnastics has to be the priority, because if it's not, she's not going to make it to that large goal
That's
that
a really
she
great
has,
thing
and
that
that's
you're
going to be
talking
way
about.
more painful than missing ice skating. Like,
but you see, that's what when I told you like a few minutes ago about opportunities in America, understand, and distraction things you can have very easy, because you have a 10 years old, not even 10, 9 years old. First program to qualify for elite is called Hopes, and that's at 11, right? Then at 8 years old, you start training for that already. Like you have to, because the level of difficulty is so high that you have to give the athlete room to work those hard tricks without like pounding too much, right? And give them time to learn them and build the strength from them. And by the time she's 11, she has from 8 to 11, it's like 3 years. In these 3 years, she has to live, breathe, eat, sleep, gymnastics. Understand? Then, yeah, she's not going to have a normal childhood. It's, comes with the territory. You want to be an Olympic champion, you want to be an elite gymnast, you want to be even another sport. You have to make sacrifices. That's why I told you it's very important to teach them very early in their life that by having discipline, by working hard, by making sacrifices, you achieve your dreams.
Right.
Understand? And then
So when you
as a family, once again, as a family, you have to help her make those sacrifices by not making her feel it's a burden on the family if she's too tired or she's exhausted to go to the mall, or you know what I mean, like things like this where the family has to be on her side, making the athlete feel comfortable with everything all the time.
so when you see a child has that ability to move to that elite level, I assume you sit down and have a serious conversation with the athlete and the
Yes.
parents and talk about the
Yes.
level of commitments that's required and the fact that it's going to be a tough thing, but it's going to be worth it. So everybody has to understand the physical and emotional ups and downs that are going to occur. So, how's that conversation go usually with parents?
You just sit down. No, normally, like I look, like by the time I get to talk to a parent like that, the child already does pretty good, and you prepare as a coach. That's why you see we talk. The kids start at 4 or 5 years old, right? From that age already, like I have now a group of 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old in my gym. Very good, right? The parents already know that my intention with that group of kids is to bring them to the elite level of gymnastics, is for them to compete hops at a very young age, to be the youngest possible to compete in that program. Understand?
Because you told them that.
Yeah, I told them that already because I know the kids are talented. I know they're good. I know they have the potential. And already I prepare the parents slowly for what's to come. And I'm being honest to them, Like I talk with them about like, okay, one day you're gonna be homeschooling. We're gonna start 2 times a day practice at one point if it's necessary. Understand? Like I'm already exposing them to what is need for the child to do elite gymnastics safely. Understand? To be an elite athlete safely. And then by the time the child is 8 years old, 9 years old, and we decide, okay, it's time to push the gas and bring up the speed of training a little bit, then the parents is going to have enough knowledge, and then sitting down, you have to be honest in your discussions as a coach. You have to expose correctly your plan. Understand? You cannot be like, oh yeah, we're going to do elite gymnastics. It's fun. Did you see Sean Johnson? She always smiles. She always laughs. She always... Not always. That was on camera. Understand? Like in the gym, how many times she fell off the beam and maybe cry? Happened. You have to go through that part too. Understand? Then you have to explain the coaches both situations. Yeah, it's a happy situation when the child wins and everything goes smoothly, but it's going to be hard time too when she struggles and she feels she can't get her requirements, and she has to do a little bit more conditioning maybe, and it's hard, and she's sore and she's scared, and she has to go through all those things. Obviously those type of emotions going to change a little bit the environment for her, for the athlete. Understand? Because she's going to be a little bit more stressed. She's going to be a little bit more doubtful. Yeah. Yes, right. And you have to help her then. Then if you, as a coach, if you explain those things correct to the parents and you prepare them for the future, right? When they get to that moment, they know how to work with you together to help the athlete.
Right. It's not going to be like alarming that all of a sudden the child comes home and she's suddenly upset because it's the first time she's encountered a massive frustration with something or a fear with something. It's bound to happen, and it doesn't always happen at the same point for every athlete, but it's all a part of it. And the parent has to know that, and they can't be frightened by the fact that that may happen. It's a natural part, and it's part of the child learning to overcome. But the parent has to be very in tune to the emotions of the athlete. Like we said in past episodes, that's why it's important that they're committed. So they know when the child goes home and maybe they're not vocal about something, but just their body language is different. They're going to pick up on maybe something's off in training, and then you can have discussions with them. And it's very important I think, for children to verbalize,
Yes.
like learn to verbalize how they're feeling
Be
and learn
comfortable to
to
verbalize.
reassess how they did and self-reflect after practice and take away the positive. And that's something that the parent can do with the child at home. And and then you can make that judgment of like, this is surpassable, or sometimes then it's not, and that as well. But the parent has to know that it's not going to all just be glittering gold
No.
all the time. It's an emotional sport, and it's
Look, as long as the coach is not disrespectful with the child, understand? Like if a coach comes in the gym and swear at the child and I don't know, pick her by the head and push her off the beam, slap her because she didn't do good, or like whatever, like they abusive with the athlete, that's a different story.
that's a different story, yeah.
But if she's emotional, she has some negative emotion because she struggled in the gym
Right.
performing, that's something that the athlete has to learn.
Mhm.
Understand? And that's a tool to have in life, because in life you're going to struggle.
Right.
Understand? Life is not going to be, let's put it this way, your sport career, your life, athletic life stops at one point.
Right.
Everybody stops. And then you go in regular life, like real life. Now you have to start doing a business or getting a job, or even if you're an Olympic champion, you're going to have to, maybe you get lucky and you get hired by a TV station to be a
Commentator, yeah.
commentator, right? But that job comes with responsibilities. That TV station is not going to keep you there just because you have a pretty face, right? You have to know how to speak correct English, or maybe 2-3 languages, to interview people in different languages. They have some demands for your position, right? And if you don't match those demands, they're going to fire you, right?
Mhm.
Then you have to learn how to put up with stress, because nothing in life is not stressful. Life is stressful in general, right? You woke up in the morning and you want to cross the streets and the cars goes, it's stressful, right? You have to look at the cars like, okay, red light, now red light. I'm okay. It's, everything in life is stressful if you put it that way. Even going to buy groceries. You have to go to the store, someone comes with a car, they may hit you on the leg, you have to pay attention. Like, if you put it that way, it's a level of stress on everything we do.
Mhm.
Then you have to learn how to deal with that. And you have to teach them, give them the tools. And we go back in back episodes when we talk about the falling, teaching them how to fall, right?
Mhm.
Give them the option to fail at things. Give them the chance to not win. Let them not win. Tell them, go to the competition, be a state champion. I want you to be a state champion. Let them not achieve it. Allow them to get the feeling of I failed. Allow them that, but teach them how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Understand? Give them the tools to come out of that. Explain them, okay, look, you didn't win this competition, or you fall on this trick, but this is what happened. This is what you did wrong. This. Now, let's change. Let's do this, and the execution is going to be good. And the more they practice that correction that you give them, and they start seeing the outcome positive, they more become confident, and now they know on their own how to deal with that type of emotion when they don't perform well. Understand? But you have to teach them. You have to allow them to fall. You have to allow them to have some negative feelings by trying to do something big.
Right. I'm just going to reiterate something that you're saying now. When you're saying is allow them to fail and allow them to not achieve, it is being done in a situation that the child is really ready for, and they have the potential that they could win.
Yeah.
It's not a setting where like, let's let them try to attempt something that they're totally not ready for, and
No.
you're basically setting them up for failure on purpose.
No.
The possibility of being successful and winning and coming out on top is there, but there's of course the risk that it may not happen with error, and that's the difference.
Yes.
That's
because they
you
have to
do
compete
it that way.
Like in sports, you have to compete without the fear of losing, because losing is a big chance. Understand?
Yes.
Like when you go in a competition, losing is a big chance for both competitors, no matter how good is one of them. Understand?
Right.
Even in boxing, if you go now in boxing, we take boxing, right? And I go in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, the best boxer in the history, right? He has a chance to lose. Because if I hit him with a good right hand, he's going to go to sleep. Understand? If.
Right.
But that's a chance. You think he's going to go in the ring and just put his hands down like this and say, hit me? No. He's gonna keep his hands up. He's gonna try to move. Understand? He's gonna stay away from me hitting him because he doesn't want to get hit and knocked out by chance, by my chance. Understand? It's more chance for me to lose than for him, but he still have a chance to lose.
Right.
Then you have to account for that, but without the fear of I'm losing. If I'm losing, no.
Well, I think you need to take it how you just said. There's
Yeah.
always a chance to lose, and there's always a chance to win, and that's just reality, and it's normal.
And
so
when
it
you
doesn't
go
need
in
to
the
cause
competition,
stress.
you focus on the execution, whatever the sport is. Understand? You focus on the technicality of the sport. What's the technicality in that sport that's going to bring you the win? That's what you focus on. You don't focus on the error that you're going to make to lose the fight.
Right.
Understand? Because it's like me, like if I go in a, let's say, MMA fight, and I strike to the guy, right? I know that if I keep my hand down while I'm throwing the hook, the guy's going to knock me out, right? And now I'm just focusing on that because I know I do that mistake in training, and I just keep my hand here. Now I do the mistake, right? When I could just focus on what I can do good to knock the guy out in front of me.
Right.
And just bring my game plan over there, not my fear of losing, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like you call for the, like, it's like
You manifest the mistake.
you manifest the mistake. You manifest the losing by being afraid of it. No. Focus on the executions. What you have to execute in order for it to win. Look at that. Manifest that. Visualize that in your head.
Well,
like once again, I tell my girls all the time, even in the gym, sometimes. I tell them, like, close your eyes and visualize yourself executing that trick perfect. Like perfect 10 at the Olympics. And the whole arena stands up and clap at you like this. Like, you're better than Nadia Comaneci. And they do that exercise 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And at one point, they start picking up on the good execution. Understand? Because also, like, in that moment when they close the eyes and they start visualizing themselves executing correct, that emotion of being the best and doing that best execution go from the mind in the body. Understand? And that carry in their execution, because 5 seconds after she goes to run that handspring tuck and it's perfect. Understand? It's all psychology. Like, you have to use a lot of psychology to teach the tools of going through emotion and how to perform in competition and how to deal with falling or struggling.
Right. Maybe we'll do another episode on that one too. But go ahead, Mark.
I think the saddest thing that that can happen to people is have talent and ability and have it never be coached out of them to not understand what they had or to just give up on it for some reason. I think that's such a loss of potential. So again, I'm a big fan of how you coach and why you coach, and as we've said before,
that's why we coach the way we coach.
A friend of mine said, his father said that the biggest, saddest things in life is waste talent.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%.
Wasted talent.
Yeah. Someone that I know, very, very smart.
And one of your greatest statements you said is everybody who comes through your gym is a champion by the time they leave, because you help them develop a champion attitude. They know how to fail, they know how to fall, they know how to try, they know how to push, and
they know how to fight for things they want.
Yeah.
And they should, like, you should teach kids that way, because then they go in life, and like I said, being a champion in life, being an Olympic champion in life doesn't come with a gold medal. It comes with attitude. You can have the behavior of a champion in life without winning a gold medal in Olympics. And that's true. That's not something that I just said it for people to like me. I say, people be like, oh my God, he's so inspirational. No, but that's reality. Everybody that's successful in life, look, you have the most successful people in life, the most richest people in life, they didn't achieve anything in sports. Understand?
A lot of them, yeah.
But a lot of them, they didn't do sports. They didn't be Olympic champion and world record, but their behavior is exactly like the one of the world champion. Understand? Their attitude is the same. They have that grind. Yes. They have that discipline. They have that work ethic. They have that desire to be successful and be the best. They know how to fail at things and stand up and go again and try again. Like I told you before, the most richest people in the world, they do investments, right? You know how much money those people lose? Millions of dollars. The risk is high, and they take that risk, and they lose $100 million here. They make 50 million over there and then 100 million over there and lose 20 million here. They take the risk, they lose and they win, but they know how to fight. They know how to have that discipline of success. Like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to make this and this and this and this.
Well, I think to expand on what you just said and bring it back into tying off the episode is, I think that parents need to know exactly what you just said. It's worth the risk in the child's life. There's risk involved in aiming to be an elite athlete and aiming to be an Olympic athlete. And of course, not getting to that gold medal in Olympics or getting to that elite level and being this household name. But it's worth the risk of doing it because you get so many other things out of it, and you can only attain it if you take that risk. Only the people that took the risk are the ones going to the Olympics, not the ones that are afraid that they might not get there because it's risky. You have to go through that risk, and it's worth the risk. And I want to ask you one more question, because you were an elite athlete, and that's how I want you to end the episode.
I was.
So for you,
Long time ago.
for you,
now I got a little better.
For you as an elite gymnast, well, two parts. For you as an elite gymnast, what advice would you give someone who's a young child who's maybe afraid to take that risk of going that path? What do you feel that it brought to your life? Like, why was it worth that risk for you? Because you didn't go to the Olympics, but you aspired to. And you had a painful time in gymnastics and a painful trajectory, but you still feel, knowing you, that your path through gymnastics was worth it. So why was it worth it for you to take that risk?
Because first of all, gymnastics gave me discipline. Like, at that level of elite gymnastics, I had a discipline. Like, I knew what I want to do. I knew I want to become the first Olympic champion in my country. I knew what it takes for me to do that. And I had a discipline to stay on that path and work hard. I had the hard work ethic that I developed with the sport, because first I started the sport a little bit behind everybody else and I struggled a lot. Then I have to work very, very hard, especially like conditioning training. Like, I was so weak that
because you started gymnastics after being sick.
Like, I had to do conditioning 10 times more than everybody else just to get a little stronger, not like them, just a little close to them, Then that built me up, that make me strong and build my mind very strong. My will, was
your power will.
My power will grew with that, Teach me how to respect myself, because through failing, right, to not achieving things, I also learned that I had value more than the mistake that I did, or more than the fall that I took, or more than not achieving that goal, And also, like, to be honest, like, without gymnastics, I will not be here, like, in many ways, like, health-wise and then life-wise, because, like, after 1989, when the revolution happened in my country 33 years ago, society collapsed, obviously, and crime grew. And I grew up in a
tumultuous society.
Tumultuous society, like in a bad neighborhood, let's put it that way. And I had to travel through the capital. Then I was exposed to a lot of different type of criminal gangs and levels, then keep me out of that type of life.
Keep you out of trouble. Yes. But that's the same. Okay, it's not the same environment, but for kids here too, it keeps you focused on something constructive and positive in your life.
Because my goal was to be an Olympic champion, and I knew that I cannot become an Olympian if I commit a crime and I go to jail, where a lot of kids that I knew my age end up just like that. Understand? Because that was the easy way of making money in a broke society, was breaking into a car and steal a stereo, or like breaking in someone's house and steal a TV, But for me, that kept me away from that, keep me focused on my goal, and give me the physical strength and the mental strength, to go through hard things. And look, like, even when I come in America, like I said it a little bit, but I had hard times. And if I didn't do gymnastics to have that strong mind from competing and failing and suffering, I will not be able to go through. And I have moments when I got to a point where she witnessed, like, I was, let's put it this way, I was in a very dark place, understand, with myself. Then your mind start playing games with you, and I come out of that just because I I could put a goal, and I will not be afraid to go after it no matter what. Understand? No matter how hard the life was, no matter how hard the situation was.
And I think no matter how impossible the goal seemed at that
Yes,
time,
I knew that I'm strong enough, I'm capable enough to come out of it. No.
yeah. So I think that it was worth all your risk. And then the last part,
Makes you stronger with achieving the goal or not. You know, but kids that want to become elite athletes, not just gymnasts, they have to understand they are taking in a path that just few do. Understand?
yes,
It's not everybody. Just taking that path, they are already special.
yeah,
Just
it's already an accomplishment.
Just
decision.
deciding, like, look, I'm gonna train twice a day. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do, like, not everybody is capable to do that. Understand? And for someone that's very young, talking about gymnastics, like a girl that's 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, the boy that's same age, doing something like that, they are special already. Because it's not so many. Look at America. America has millions of kids doing gymnastics in the whole country, boys and girls. But just 4 go to the Olympics. Just 16 or something are in the national team. I understand the number of, and when you look next week, I think they have nationals or something like this. Yes. It's going to be how many girls? 20? 30?
Actually, it will be the launch for this episode. It's the same day. Later that evening.
Yes. It's going to be how many girls? 20? 30? I said at the elite level. Out of
millions
that do the sport. Then if you get to be between those, you're already special. You already achieved something. Besides, in America, doing an elite gymnastics and going on that path gives you opportunities academically, which other countries don't have. No, you go to a college and you get a scholarship, and you have a lot of opportunities. After that, you can use your abilities as an elite gymnast to work in Cirque du Soleil, right?
Yeah.
Get paid good money and be an artist and travel around the world, and people respect you and like you, Like, you get a lot of opportunities out of gymnastics. That I don't think so they are very well presented also to the young athletes when they start the sport, because the only thing they present to them is that gold medal in Olympics. Understand? It's like, oh, you go to the Olympics, but you can do a lot of things with gymnastics without going to the Olympics, and you make a good living. Understand?
Right. No, it's true. So I think just to end off this episode, I think it's fascinating to hear your point of view. And I think for all of the listeners, whether it's a coach, parent, or an athlete, that correct and positive guidance and the honesty between that triad is vital. And of course, when choosing to take on that pursuit of the elite track, when the potential is there, I would always say go for it. It's worth it. It's worth all the risk. The benefits are, abundant, whether you make it to the top or you don't. You, like he just said, just you taking it on is something so special and so admirable. And as long as you always remind the athlete, because they're the ones that are facing, of course, the harshest criticism, the most challenging training, the most challenging level of competition, if you just remind them about how special they are and how amazing they are, and that they need to take pride in their pursuit, it can really only be a positive experience with positive takeaways. So I want to say thank you, Mark, for helping us touch on this subject a little bit deeper, because it's not widely discussed. Everybody wants to be the elite gymnast, but it's not always discussed how to go about it.
Not be afraid to allow their child to take an elite sport path. Guide them. But coaches have to be honest to that. Like, when you ask a parent to put their child in such a path, understand? You have to be honest, because you have to put the child that have the abilities to do so, not because the parents is willing to pay for it. Understand?
Yep. Sure.
Because, like, look, gymnastics, it's like walking on the rope. Understand? you have to walk straight. If you step on the side, you're gonna fall, and it's not good. Understand? You're not gonna get back on the rope again because the rope goes over the Niagara Falls. Understand? It's like that guy was a guy that was walking on the Niagara Falls over the Niagara Falls on the rope, right? If he missed one step and fall, it's done. Gymnastics is the same way. The career of an elite gymnast is the same way. Has to be guided correctly from the beginning by the coach with the help of the family, the parents,
Mm-hmm.
for the benefit of the athlete. You cannot have that athlete go like this and fall and try to stand up because it's not going to happen. You're going to ruin their career.
Yeah.
You have to be very honest and very careful as a coach.
Yeah, and they need to be on that rope, and they need one of you on either side of them.
Yes,
the
to
coach on
balance
one
them,
side, the
okay?
parent on the other, to keep
they
them
have the
on that
skill to
rope.
balance, and
Yeah.
the coach holds this side and the parents holds this side,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you keep them on the rope.
Yeah. So everybody has to work together
for the athlete.
in this trinity for the benefit of the
Right.
athlete, and the athlete is the important, the delicate thing that needs to be protected and celebrated at all times. So I want to say thank you to everybody for listening in, and thank you, Mark, again for your help on this episode.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you, everybody, for watching us and listening. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Illuminating Champions. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for our next episode.